Hey, how's everybody doing? It's Josh Goldstein. I was, it's here in Los Angeles. It is Friday, July 3rd at about 6 p.m. I am coming to you live. I was on Twitter today and I got a whole bunch of questions from folks who were selected in the 2020 Diversity Visa Lottery. And they had all sorts of questions about what to do. And man, my heart goes out to these folks. And they asked me some pretty great questions, and I want to try to get to them because I thought they were very interesting and helpful for people. If you don't know me, I'll just wait a minute to let people all catch up to me. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everything's going great. Yeah, so if you don't know me, I'm Josh Goldstein. I'm an immigration lawyer in Los Angeles, and I help people across the country and around the world with immigration issues of all sorts of types and sizes and colors and shapes. We help people get work permits, green cards, citizenship. We do deportation defense, but I'm especially known for litigation. I sue immigration agencies in federal court to resolve delayed immigration cases. Most of the delays I come across right now are people who are in administrative processing, and the consulates are giving them the runaround. They go into the consulate expecting to get their paperwork approved, but instead of getting approved, they have to wait, and the consulates make them wait and wait and wait and wait. Here is a Facebook user said, I sent you a private message, but you didn't reply me. I'm so sorry. Send me another message and I will try to get back to you again. So I want to start off by describing the problem that people who are in the diversity visa lottery have. If you were selected in the diversity visa lottery, that means that you have a chance to get a visa through this. You can get a green card. It's your golden ticket, but it's not the same as getting a green card. It's still, you have to go through the process of applying for a visa, and you have to show that you meet all the requirements. You have to provide the right paperwork. You have to do all these sorts of things. And even if you do that, there's no guarantee in general that you're going to actually get a immigrant visa or a green card, because there are more squirrels than nuts. There are a limited number of these visas, and not everybody gets one, and it has to be completed by September 30th of the fiscal year for which you're selected. So 2020 diversity visa lottery will end on September 30th, 2020. The diversity visa lottery is part of the laws of the United States. This means that I think it was passed under President Johnson in the 1960s. And it was a response to the racist quotas that governed immigration laws prior to that time, where they kept out certain groups, Chinese Exclusion Act, and things like this. So diversity visa lottery is fundamental to the United States. It's a law, and the Republicans, especially Trump, they don't like this. They don't like the diversity visa lottery. They don't like it at all, and they want to get rid of it. But to get rid of the diversity visa lottery, if they don't want that diversity visa lottery, they have to change the law. They have to pass a new law to get rid of it. That's the only way to get rid of the diversity visa lottery, is to pass a new law. And they have not passed such a law, and they will not pass such a law as long as one of the House of Representatives is in the hands of the Democrats. They won't be able to do this. So what did Trump do? Well, he came out with a proclamation on April 22nd, and that proclamation barred the issuance of certain types of visas. And he did so because of the coronavirus. So in the United States, President Trump is going around and undermining public health. He's saying you don't really have to wear a mask, and the virus is under control, and liberate Michigan. And he's downplaying the virus, and everything's great. He's He's having rallies where they don't do social distancing and they don't wear masks. And that's his position in the United States. But for consulates, he's kept them closed. And he said that he will not issue visas pursuant to the diversity visa lottery. So there are plenty of people out there who've applied for green cards through the diversity visa lottery who are outside the United States as the day Trump issued the proclamation, but who are waiting. And those people are squarely covered by Trump's ban. So what's going on now? The American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which I've been a proud member for many, many years. This is a wonderful organization, along with some other groups, filed a lawsuit on May 28th, 2020. I'm going to put a copy of the complaint on my website next week. They filed a lawsuit on May 28th, 2020 to challenge Trump's proclamation as illegal and to strike it down. And they filed a temporary restraining order, a preliminary injunction. So there should be a hearing on this soon. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me because I am known for filing mandamus lawsuits. And I've had people reach out to me and say, listen, we want to hire you to file a mandamus lawsuit against the Trump administration on behalf of diversity visa lottery selectees. But my position has been and is that given that there's a class action lawsuit going on already, an individual lawsuit filed by an individual plaintiff would probably be unnecessary, because if there's a class action lawsuit, that court has the authority to grant the injunction and could order the consulates to reopen, or could strike down the proclamation in its entirety as unconstitutional. And it may seem far-fetched that a court would do such a thing, but if you look at the recent asylum decision, there was a court that struck down the Trump's asylum regulations and rules. They weren't regulation; they were actually, that was what the issue was. The Trump administration did not follow the rules to governing the way regulations come out. And so on a technicality, they struck that down. So if you've been selected for the diversity visa lottery, you should know that there's a lawsuit going on right now, and that lawsuit could result in you moving forward and getting your visa. Let me see if I can come up with some of the questions that were on Twitter. One of them is, what is your expectation for the case? How many plaintiffs do you need support? I think I've answered all these questions. Let me go through and answer some of the specific questions. Have you filed a case in court for the diversity visa 2020? No, I have not. But the American Immigration Lawyers Association has filed such a lawsuit. It's a class action lawsuit. So if this lawsuit had a favorable outcome, then everyone would benefit. Anyone who's selected for the diversity visa lottery. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Here we have a friend of ours on YouTube from India. This is not about the diversity visa lottery, but it's a pretty good question, so I think I'm going to answer it. This is Rutvi. Thank you so much for your question. Hey, Josh, could you please guide me if my spouse, who is yet to be stamped for an L2 visa in India, if he could travel before December 31st? Is there any hope of a waiver for dependents stranded in India? Boy, that's tough. So as you know, the presidential proclamation from June blocked the issuance of L visas. So the L2 visa, which is for derivatives of an L1, that is blocked by the presidential order, and that extends until the end of the year, so until December 31st of 2020. So it applies to anyone who was outside the United States on the day that the order was issued. So that's June 20th, 2020. And it also applies to people who didn't already have an immigrant visa or didn't already have a visa. So it says here in this question from our friend Rootvy, it says that his or her spouse didn't have a visa stamp. And if you don't have a visa stamp, then presumably the person doesn't have a visa. So if her spouse was outside the U.S., didn't have a visa, then he would be subject to the ban. And, there's several ways that the ban could be lifted. Number one is through litigation. As I said, there are lawsuits out there challenging this. And number two, Trump himself could make a decision either on December 31st or before then to lift the ban, lift the presidential proclamation. And the third way it could be lifted is Trump could lose the election. Then President Biden could step in January and do away with this ban. One of the questions that I saw on on Twitter was about whether or not a court could extend the application date for the diversity visa lottery, and asked me my opinion on that. And that is to say, maybe through litigation, a court could say, listen, the statute says that the diversity visa lottery ends on December 30th and has to be completed on September 30th. But maybe a court could extend that somehow through equitable tolling or some kind of an equity argument to do that, and asked me for my opinion on it. It's been a while since I've taken a look at the case law that governs the diversity visa lottery, but my understanding is that is a drop-dead deadline, and that you have to have your green card and immigrant visa wrapped up by September 30th, because on October 1st, it's over. That's my understanding, but I could be wrong. And I certainly hope that this prevails, because I think it's profoundly unfair. A lot of people have made big decisions and have invested a lot of time and money spending fees on getting medical exams and traveling to visa interviews. And they've done all these things, and the government has just closed the door on them. The other thing to point out is that the coronavirus situation, the pandemic, it's not the same in every country. The United States and Brazil have done an abysmal job controlling the coronavirus, and the virus has spiraled out of control here. But in other countries, New Zealand, Taiwan, South Korea, the coronavirus is more under control. In France, in Europe, etc. So there may be consulates I know the consulate in Spain is doing immigrant visa interviews coming up soon. So the notion that all consulates are closed and no consulates can process immigrant visas is flatly untrue. Here we have Ayman Masood, our friend on Periscope. As far as I know, EILA didn't file the case yet. Am I correct? No, that is not correct. I have a copy of the complaint from the lawsuit, and I'm going to file it on my website soon, and I'll share that with you. It was filed on May 28th, and I have the case number. I think I put it on my Twitter feed. So that was filed. Is it possible to extend the deadline of September 30th? I think I tried to answer that before. My answer was really a matter of speculation. Who knows? But I think my understanding of the case law is that it may be difficult to extend that deadline. But I certainly hope so, but I don't know. What other questions do we have? It says here we have our friend Oliver on Periscope. I guess Periscope is the same as Twitter. I'm not even sure. I'm not up on all these sophisticated things. If all that done and was only waiting for the interview, and FYI, the number of visas available still too much. Yeah. Oliver's coming to us from Kuwait. Hello, my friend. Hope everything is well with you. Not sure what the coronavirus situation is there in the Middle East, but I hope things are well and you and your family are safe and doing well. Today is sort of a holiday in the United States, the day before 4th of July, Independence Day, and the beginning of a long weekend. So I hope everybody is doing well and feeling good. Let's see about this question. Mohammed Ismail Shehata. Dear sir, I have only one question about the I-751 waiver. Okay, I know a lot about this. My ex-wife is a U.S. citizen. Our marriage didn't work out, and she filed for an annulment based on her mental illness. The court granted the annulment on that basis. The court order said that while the marriage was entered in good faith, it will be annulled based on the petitioner's mental illness. My question is, can I remove the conditions on my green card? My status is we are ready to schedule your case for an interview. Ooh, that's a tough one. So I think to really fully answer the question, I'd have to know annulment is a state law. Family court is issued. So each state has different family laws that govern divorce and so on. And the divorce laws and family laws in one state differ from those in another state. And so I'd have to know a little bit more about what the statute in your state says is annulment. But annulment of a marriage usually means that there is some sort of illegality associated with the marriage, or some sort of fraud, or there is something fundamentally defective about the marriage. Whereas divorce is based on a fact that the relationship didn't end well, and that there were irretrievable breakdowns. So I think that is a very tricky sort of situation. You definitely want to consult with a lawyer, and I think I'd have to look at this a lot more carefully before I could give you some specific advice. But it sounds like a challenging situation. I wish you all the best, and if you need help or have questions, reach out to me for sure in person. Amina on YouTube. Hello. Hi, Josh. How you doing? Hope everything's well in your world. Here we have another person, Elizabeth Gadifa. My brother's case in I-130 is in the embassy, but due to the coronavirus, the embassy closed before his interview. And since Trump's ban began around that time, we're not sure what to do next. Great question from our friend from YouTube. Thank you so much for your question, and I'm sorry you're in this spot. So a sibling petition, I'm not quite sure what the basis of this case is, but it says her brother's case. So maybe her brother is married to a U.S. citizen and was petitioned by his U.S. citizen spouse, but it doesn't sound like that. My assumption from this question is that the I-130 was filed by Elizabeth on behalf of her brother. So maybe Elizabeth is a U.S. citizen, and U.S. citizens are allowed to petition for their siblings, and maybe that's what this case is all about. At any rate, Donald Trump granted his proclamation bars the issuance of F4 visas. F4 visas are sibling visas. Visas based on a visa petition or an I-130 based on a sibling relationship. So according to the Trump administration, that cannot be issued. So I think your brother, if my assumption is correct about your brother's case, your brother's stuck until the ban is lifted, either by Trump, by President Biden, or through litigation. But let me know if you need help on that one. Here we have Osama Elbaz, our friend from Periscope. What if we got a TRO in this case against the proclamation while the consular visa services is suspended? Well, are consular visa services really suspended? Some consulates claim to be closed. Others are open in a more limited capacity, and others are doing immigrant visas again. So I don't know. I think the pandemic has caused the closure of certain consulates, and that could be an issue, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Our friend Joseph Youssef says, do you think the lawsuit will stop Trump's decision, or is there a possibility that this will not happen? That's a good question. It's hard to say. I mean, that's the question, right? Will the lawsuit be effective? Will the lawsuit be effective? You know, what will the outcome of the lawsuit be? Will a court step in and strike down in whole or in part Trump's proclamation, or not? We don't know. We don't know what will happen. It's unknowable. We certainly hope that this works out. And a similar question from our friend on Facebook, Mustafa Abdelmonem. Could you please tell us about your expectation for the DV 2020 winners? Well, I can tell you what I hope happens. I hope that everybody who deserves the DV lottery gets a fair chance at getting the lottery, because that's the way the law is written. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way Congress intended it. And President Trump can't just step in there with a stroke of a pen and come up with some new rule because he doesn't like the law. So I think everybody who was selected in the diversity visa lottery for 2020 should have a chance. What do I expect will happen? I don't know. I really don't. There was a decision recently where Trump's asylum regulations were struck down. And so courts may be taking a closer look at this stuff. If EILA filed the case to go to court, when will we expect the court's response? You know, as a lawyer, I'm not directly involved with this lawsuit. I'm a member of EILA, but I didn't work directly on the lawsuit. I know some of the people in a professional capacity who have, and I don't know where they're at with this lawsuit. I know they filed a preliminary injunction, which requires hearings and so on, but I don't know. I really don't know where exactly this is at. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there were selected in the 2020 diversity visa lottery, and they are deeply concerned about what's happened because the rug was pulled out from underneath them, to use that expression. 1 minute they were expecting to get a green card and to be able to immigrate to the United States, or at least have that chance. And then the next minute, no. And there's something else fundamentally unfair to diversity visa lottery winners, and maybe to anyone who's seeking to immigrate right now. And that is, that if you are in the United States and you're seeking a green card through adjustment of status based on being selected for the diversity visa lottery, then you have a chance to go forward, because the ban doesn't apply to people who are inside the United States. But if you're outside the United States, then you can't get a diversity visa lottery right now. So, like, that seems to me to be an arbitrary distinction. Tanzila Cameron, our friend. Hello. Thank you for tuning in from YouTube. I hope this is interesting. Let me know if you have any questions. What other questions do you have for me about immigration, visas, anything else? Yeah, our friend Rupan Talakdar says, "Hey, sir, any lawsuit for green card spouse? Please update. Thanks." Yeah, so if you petition for your spouse and you only have a green card, what's going on with that? Are there lawsuits? Yes, there are lawsuits challenging this. But let me make a suggestion to you, Rupan. Why don't you consider applying for naturalization? Yes, naturalization takes a long time. Maybe you're not eligible to apply yet, but that's one way that you could get around the ban, is by naturalizing. Tanzila, thank you for your guidelines. Here we have Vutruka. Is it possible that a court could order the government to give visas in blanket for all remaining DV lottery winners? Well, I don't think the court could order the government to give the visa to everyone who was selected for the DV lottery, because don't forget, just because you were selected for the lottery doesn't mean that you deserve to be approved. There are probably people out there that don't meet the requirements or that are ineligible for certain reasons. But I think it's certainly possible that the government could order, the court could order the Trump administration to begin processing visa applications. I don't think that's the same as giving everyone who was selected in the basket a visa, but I think that would count as a massive victory. So yeah, I mean, my heart is with the DV lottery winners, those selected for the DV lottery. My heart goes out to you and anyone else waiting for visas. I know this is a particularly challenging time. And if you have questions or need help, I'm here. And if you message me, I'll be happy to answer your questions or try to help you out. Or if I can't do that, I'll try to point you in the right direction. In the meantime, I hope you stay safe and you be well. And let's keep in touch. Okay. Take care. And I'll be back soon with more information. Bye now.